Hey.
We back, y'all.
Yes, we're back. New and improved. Well,
Yes,
sort of.
halfway.
Halfway improved. Halfway improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Welcome to F1 or F Off, your audio pit stop for F1 news, interviews, and race reviews. My name is Gabe, and that was the first time I ever did that without reading it.
Ooh!
Oh,
Oh, snap, boy!
right?
And I'm the other half of the podcast, Idris.
Well, you
And
know
I'm
what?
taking some water.
Yeah, here's the thing. We've only been doing this for 50 episodes, so if I don't
That's
have it
true.
mesmerized by now, that's
Then we're fuck smashed.
yeah, that's a problem on me. That's my problem. So
Uh, would you say that we should get sacked for not knowing that? Oh.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we're just a bunch of wankers, huh?
yeah. Before we get into some hot, juicy news in the Formula One world,
Mhm.
I gotta say, yeah, we have to acknowledge this is our 50th episode, and
Mhm.
I'll just take a quick minute to say thank you to all of you listeners for helping us get to this point. And also, like 50th episode, also the first episode of season 2. That's right, folks, we are in season
Right.
2. We are recording in 2024. Here we are. We are manifesting our dreams into reality, and we're gonna make it happen this year with
That's right.
lots of different things. But yeah, it's just cool that we're able to get to this, that we've been able to get to this point, and like we're just still here talking on our mics about Formula One and motorsports.
It's true.
Yeah, really looking
It's
forward to
true.
just what this year has in store. Yeah. Anyways, but it feels good to like actually say the intro too, because it's been a while. We've taken a little bit of a break, and been
Yeah.
doing things in life.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happening on my
Yeah.
end. So
Mhm.
as you can tell, if you're a YouTube watcher,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, wait, that's not the normal blurry void that Gabe sits in front of, and you're correct. It's because I moved, and now I have some. Well, I have some of my stuff on the wall. There's only so much space I can put, so I'm still kind of working on rearranging some things. But
Sure.
but yeah,
I like the
it's
vibe,
nice. Yeah, well, I tried to put like some comics back there and some Deep Space Nine stuff and some racing stuff. So
Oh man, wait, is
I've
that a
got quite
movie
a few things.
poster? Is that a movie poster for Attack of the Clones in the back there?
No,
Your favorite movie,
no,
right?
there's no Attack of the Clones. Are you talking about these two right here?
No, I'm kidding. I know how much you
Oh,
strongly
you-
dislike the prequels.
You
Oh man, I truly appreciate though that
you expletive.
yeah, you really trusted me deeply there. You're like, my friend would never. He
I
would
give the
never.
benefit of the doubt. I'm not gonna assume that I'm not gonna assume that you're trying to make me look bad.
that I'm yanking your chain.
No, no, I'm not gonna assume that. I'm not gonna assume that. Well, yeah, I mean, speaking of assumptions, we're always assuming that that in F1 off season that there's not really going to be any huge shaking news until the season starts. At least it doesn't often happen, but we got a bit of a bombshell, as most of you know now, that Gene has sacked Gunther.
Wait, hygiene? You mean hygiene? The
Hygiene.
guy that we use mouthwash for? Hygiene?
That's right. Yeah. Gene Haas has sacked Gunther, and everyone was kind of mouth agape. Really shocked by it. Honestly, I mean, I definitely want to get your thoughts on this, but my sizzling hot fajita take on this situation is honestly, I'm not surprised, and I honestly don't care that much.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not.
Really?
I'm not upset. I'm not like, I'm not worried for Haas. Like, I'm not. We have to remind ourselves.
10 to 10.
Here's the thing. Honestly, we have to remind ourselves that like Gunther was the team principal during like some of the most terrible decisions that team has made, like in its history in F1. Like
Sure.
he was there at the forefront of the Rich Energy saga, and then immediately after that tanked, he was right there with the Uralkali and Marzipan thing.
Yeah.
Like he treated Mick Schumacher not that great.
Yeah.
Like, he had a really weird relationship between him and Grosjean and Magnussen, and like, everyone's just like, oh yeah, Gunther, oh, a bunch of wankers. Like, yeah, we get the meme ability,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as an effective team principal, like, I'm not convinced, that
Mm-hmm.
he was really going to, um, that he was really the fit that they needed. And honestly, I think like Haas for a long time, like they've switched sponsors, right? They've
Yeah.
switched drivers a few times. The one thing that they haven't done is switched up management. And I think that there was
That's a good
about
point.
time
Yeah.
that happened, if I'm being honest.
So counterpoint here. All right.
Uh,
Imagine you are Gunter Steiner, right? And you have Gene Haas, who is, by the way, a really successful businessman in the
mm-hmm,
States, right? Due to his company Haas Automation, where they produce CNCs. That's a computer numerical controlled machine that does all kinds of different manufacturing processes, including milling, that sort of thing, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, they're like top of the line machines, right? Um, let's say this guy, Gene Haas, is a cheapskate. Let's say this guy just doesn't put out, right? He is
mm-hmm,
expecting the world while supplying like just pennies, just a trickle of funds, right? To your
mm-hmm,
race organization, right?
mm-hmm,
To an organization that exists within a sport that requires a lot of financial investment, right? You have to think about when you're spending money in a sport like this, a high performance sport, that you're not just dumping money down the drain, right? When you spend money, it's actually an investment. You're investing in facilities, you're investing in personnel, you're investing in institutional knowledge. All these things will lead up to an eventual crest or precipice in your organization that turns into results, that turns into podium finishes, that turns into wins, pole positions, that sort of things,
mm-hmm.
championships eventually. Um, I I hear you and feel you about the assessment on Gunter, linking up with some shady people, right? Like Rich Energy, right into Royal Kali, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, do you think he was forced into that position to make those financial decisions because hygiene wasn't really given the funds that he needed in order to make the organization function in the way it was?
Yeah, well, I guess that was part of this, right? Like they were suggesting that part of the reason why they were getting this, trying to get the kind of sponsorship that they needed to get, was because Gene was not investing in the team outside of just being the majority stakeholder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which, I mean, yeah, I guess it's you chase the funds where you can get them, right?
Yeah,
If somebody like Gene Haas has the deep pockets in order to fund and own an F1 team, like, yeah, like, he can invest that money into it. And if he's not going to do it, he's not going to do it.
mm-hmm.
Um, I think that I think that the problem, I think there are the two problems here is like, I think like Rich Energy, right? If we're going to talk about the two major sponsors outside of Haas
Yeah,
that they've had, right? And we're talking about funding them, right? So Rich Energy didn't have any money.
right.
They
Well, as we
had
found
they
out,
had
right?
as we found out, he had suggested that he had money,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't. And so whatever little amount of money he gave was just what he gave. And then, so pretty much throughout that little saga, it was just that one season.
Yeah.
They didn't like their performance couldn't really be blamed. Their lack of performance, I mean, I guess it could be blamed on a lack of funding, but you know, I suppose like I suppose that like because the team didn't have that money to develop, it's like
Mm-hmm.
they had the capital, obviously, to get it started, and they
Sure.
could have produced good results, but they didn't. I mean, because I think that if they had such a lack of funding early on, and like didn't have the thought to kind of progress, like they would have we would have known about this, or we would have heard about that earlier in the season. And I don't remember honestly hearing about Haas not having enough money to operate until the whole thing imploded a couple of
Mm-hmm.
races in.
Yeah.
Now with Uralkali, I think it's different because with Uralkali, they had the money, clearly. They had the funding because, like, the guy was paying them, and he had like this, like, the guy, it's not like the guy doesn't have the money that he was
Hmm.
saying that he has,
Yeah.
right? So he had the money to invest. But the thing is they had that caveat of the fact that Mars Spin had to be on the team.
Hmm.
And like, and so you have this added complication of you might not have the best driver in that position because they had the two rookie drivers. So
Yeah.
like that contributed to the issue of the faltering team.
Hmm.
So, and then there was that whole business about him claiming that the car was not the same and that like Mick was getting all the preferential treatment and all of this nonsense. So I think that like I think for what they had available to them and for what they were using, I think like Gunther did as good as he could do.
Mm.
I think considering, but at the same time, it's like the buck stops with him. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And like if the team is not performing, like he's the team principal. It's like
Yeah.
if Red Bull fails and continues to fail, people are going to blame Christian Horner. They're not going to blame anybody else. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because the buck stops with him. It's like with most of the time. So, so yeah, I think it's weird that Gene Haas does not want to invest more into this team that he owns. Like that he's like it's almost like he's hesitant to.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like that same old adage, man. It's like you got to spend money to make money. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And like if he really wants to invest, he's got to put some money out. I mean, it's just what's going to happen,
Yeah.
or what's got to happen.
It has to.
So
Yeah.
I
Doesn't matter
also
the
heard,
sport.
yeah, I also heard some this weird thing that apparently Gene said that that Gunther ran, like he said that he focused too much on the human side of the team and he needs to focus more on the engineering side of the team going forward, which I'm just like,
Oh
okay,
boy.
so you're telling me
Oh
that like
boy.
treating Mick Schumacher the way that you did and like getting fake sponsorships
Was him
and
focusing on
like
the humans?
that was focusing on the human side of the team more,
Oh,
like,
not just that. Not just that. To me, that screams of like ownership or ownership, owners and management that just are so out of touch, right? Like
yeah,
the people, your number one thing in an organization are the people, right? Because they're
yeah,
the
your
people who actually
asset.
make. Yeah, I wouldn't even call them an asset, right? Because people like that has like a weird property kind of flair on it. I don't like it, but like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
fair.
like people are your biggest source of like knowledge and contribution, right? And they
Mhm.
can either like drive the inertia of like let's say your organization is trying to solve a problem. That problem is a big rock, right?
Yeah,
It's like the Sisyphus problem. Like it's a Greek myth story, whatever, where the dude is just rolling a rock up a hill, and it
right.
has to continue to roll it. That's just his fate, right? Like if you get the right people, like the task of actually rolling that rock up the hill is much easier, right?
Right.
And again, it's the people around you that surround you to help you figure that problem out and solve that. So, of course, he should be focusing on the human side of it.
Hmm.
And the engineering is going to come along with that as long as you're hiring the right people, right? And you have a good culture, you're retaining good talent, all that kind of stuff. So, to hear Gene say that, oh, okay, that
Yeah, it just feels like it's just like
that's disheartening.
it feels like an absentee owner in a way. It's like when I was working at a pie shop
Yeah.
and the person who hired me and who
Hmm.
like gave me my position was fired. And then the boss showed up the next day and I was there and he was like, "Oh, we'll find you something to do." Even though like I had been producing like all of the pie dough like for the entire shop for like the past 3 months by myself, like at late at night working graveyard
But we'll find you
and
something to
like
do.
assembling all the pies, but we'll find you something to do. So it's just like, okay, so you had no idea what I
Oh
did.
man.
And so now
Yeah.
you're going to have to figure it out because I'm not doing that job anymore. Um but yeah, I
Wow.
agree. I think it's just like it's just a sign of absentee ownership, just like not completely understanding what it is that needs to happen.
Hmm.
Um, I feel I 100% agree. I think that like this also could be a example of economic problems in general. Like
Mm.
the heart of a functioning, strong economy is the working class of people who are actually doing the jobs. And
Mm,
so if you undervalue them, if you underpay them, then they're not going to, the engine's not going to run properly. The
right.
system's not going to run properly. So like, yeah, like if you're running a race team and your engineers are overworked and they don't have the resources that they need, and they don't have the, they don't have the morale and the,
Yeah,
you know, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work, and, but also
absolutely.
the same as the driver is the most important human element of the race car.
Right.
And, if you got a guy who is, believes that like there's a conspiracy that the car is not set up like hey, that he's getting like,
Yeah, not
shafted
good
by the
parts.
team,
Yeah, yeah.
and like he keeps just spinning everywhere, and like, they're trying to fix it for him, but like he keeps insisting. Like, you also have to think of that. And I mean, I think like Marzipan was probably, it's an absolutely terrible attitude as a race car driver to have, is to think like, oh, it's not, I'm not the one that needs to improve, it's the team is sabotaging me. It's just like,
Mm,
no, 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 no.
mm.
That's why Hamilton thanks the team. Like anytime he does a win, like it's the first thing he says is
Hey,
like,
especially people
thank
back at
you
the factory.
guys, right? Yeah, yeah, right.
I
So
mean,
yeah, I don't know.
I was gonna say it's to the point where him saying that is a meme, like I mean
Yeah,
it's great that he does it, but it's
yeah,
it's funny. It's definitely funny because you can tell, oh, he's gonna say it now,
yeah,
but it's good. And that's exactly what it should be. It should be predictable
right.
because they are part of your team.
Yeah. So what do you think this is going to do for Haas in general? Do you think
Um,
they're going to kind of stay in the middle of the road? Do you think there's going to be any improvement? Like,
I don't think this is going to make any sort of material impact for this upcoming season. I think if there's a major improvement that is coming from the new team boss, Io Kamatz, he's the guy that you would typically see by Gunter's side anytime you'd watch Drive to Survive. By the way, he seems like pretty well liked by the team from what I've been seeing. I haven't seen anything come out about him. I haven't seen him do anything heinous in his internet days back in the day that
mhm,
would creep up to prevent him from doing his job. Um, but if anything, maybe we see some good things showing up towards the end of the season. Because I would wager that the design of, I mean, not wager, like absolute, the design of the car has kind of been set in stone for the last several months, and they're working
right.
hard on machining all the pieces and everything, getting everything ready for winter testing here pretty soon. So if we're going to see a real material impact from Io's leadership, I would assume it's going to be probably next season. So you can kind of just count on 2024 being a wash for Haas,
Hmm.
and 2025, I think, being the year that you can see some new Haas improvements. The weird thing, though, is that recall when Haas entered the sport in 2016,
Hmm.
they punched severely above their weight, right? Like
They did,
extremely
yeah,
high. I think that what they finished P5 in the championship
yeah.
in the drivers in the
Yeah, it was like five or
constructors.
six. I think. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was five. Like
like
right, right. Yeah.
for a brand new team, right? So,
Hmm.
that isn't to say I think we've just gotten used to Haas being kind of a meme over the last several years, unfortunately, right? And
Yeah.
it sucks because the people who work there are really passionate about the sport, right? They are just in an environment where they just haven't had the funds and the maybe the leadership to kind of direct that vision, right?
Right.
Because I would guarantee you the engineers and like everyone, all the personnel who work at Haas are just as talented, if not more so, than others than their colleagues and
Hmm.
peers at the other big teams, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think that's where things stand right now. But yeah, don't expect any kind of material improvement. I think until at least 2025.
Right. Yeah. I think everyone has I think people have an expectation that like things will change like quickly, but it's like very rarely ever the case. You have an instance like in 2009 when Braun shows up and
Right,
just like
right.
does this quick takeover of a failing team, and then it's just like, okay, let's we're just gonna do it. And well, they had to retrofit like a new engine into the car,
Yeah,
but they had like a special the double diffuser thing, and like it was just the perfect
perfect
sort of
storm.
formula of
Yeah,
of everything, right? And I think that everybody tries to capture that magic, but like it does not happen regularly. And
right.
if you expect it to happen regularly, you're going to be
You fool.
regularly disappointed.
Yes, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, something else about Haas too that I wanted to talk about is I wonder how, well, it's not necessarily Haas per se, but it's more like just Gunter's I guess presence within Drive to Survive, right?
Uh-huh.
Um because arguably I would say the reason that Drive to Survive is so has been so impactful and so I think attractive and appealing to viewers, especially here in the US, is because of
Mhm.
both Danny Rick and Gunter Steiner, right? Um
Yeah. I'm sorry.
so
You could argue that.
yeah, I would say, I mean, those are like the breakout stars, right? Like,
Mhm.
I found myself after watching season one all those years ago, I was just like, oh man, Gunter, he's okay. He's an interesting guy. He's more than what he appears to be, right?
Mhm.
So I am curious about um how will DTS find new personalities, right? Because I think arguably, right, the allure of DTS is that you see a side of the drivers and the team principals and the personnel that you don't get to see, right? So
Mhm.
we're gonna just go back to Danny Rick, you know, like who's gonna be given like the meme content, right? And like Otmar Safnauer, he was everyone was just like, oh, Daddy Otmar last year, you know, with last season
Mhm.
because of the whole like, oh, I live alone with my dog and take care of
Right.
my, you know, but you know, those are like one offs. But who's gonna be the new Gunter?
Here's the thing. I don't want there to be a new Gunther. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't
Sure,
want there to
sure.
be a new one. I just like go just talk to somebody else. Let it be like a, whoever they're gonna be.
Hmm.
Like this is like Drive to Survive can't be like, hey, F1, like, hey, come on, we need some firebrand character, like
Yeah, we
hire
need some.
somebody.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you can't do that.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're asking a team to make a decision based off a
hmm,
television show, not
yeah,
off the sport, and that's just not going to happen.
yeah.
So,
I mean,
but
of
it
the personalities we have left, who is the most? Do you think like like
Christian,
new? For sure, he's
like
gonna get a
as
lot more
far as
airtime.
like
For sure.
yeah, I mean he's already like throughout. I mean he has tons of like
Hmm.
meme ability, like him and
Yep.
Toto. It's just like talk to Checo. Checo said your car is shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like he has those moments, right?
The
Um,
funniest line he had was, "Everybody has a target on their back,"
everybody has a.
and the black
I know.
turtleneck.
I love that. Everybody has a target on their back. It's amazing. Um, but yeah, like he has his moments. I mean, they retained Danny Ricciardo, right?
Yeah.
And I think like, oh, here's the thing though. If we're gonna talk about Drive to Survive, could you
Hmm.
imagine if Danny Ricciardo like wins a title in 2024 or like wins the title in 2025, like he
Man,
gets the seat with Red Bull, and then I mean
man.
the story arc
Oh my
along
God.
Drive to Survive to get to that point is
Yeah.
going to be one of the most incredible
Yeah.
things to witness in a reality show.
Yeah.
um
At that point, just end the series. There's
I
you
mean,
can't
yeah,
top that. You can't top
yeah,
that
like just done, like move on. um
unless Gunter comes out of retirement and then builds like a Braun like team and then wins the championship with that team and then he just quits at the end of the year. He's like, that's it.
well, I think it's hilarious that his autobiography is Driving to Survive. So like, or
Hilarious,
no,
right?
is it, or wait, is it
Surviving to drive or
Surviving
something
to
like that,
Drive or
right?
something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, okay,
It's
like,
like we get it, dude.
I feel like he didn't even like. It's like you can right there. It's like you can tell where his mindset is back. It's
Mm.
just like he's just like, I'm gonna make money off of this,
Hmm.
Um. So yeah, I don't know. I guess with his professional career, I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll host a talk show. Maybe he'll do some like a podcast. I mean, I have no idea what his future is, but like, maybe he ends up taking over as a principal of a different team in a different sport.
Hmm.
Maybe he becomes a commentator. Well, maybe not a commentator, but like a contributor. Like, who knows? Like,
Hmm.
but apparently, like, people love. I mean, I also wonder if the novelty of him being on Drive to Survive and being on the thing is going to wear off when he's not there. You know what I mean? Do people
Hmm.
really want Gunther content, or do they just
Hmm.
want Gunther content in the context of Formula One and Drive to
Mm.
Survive? You know what I mean?
That's a good
I don't
point.
know if yeah, I don't know if he has life outside of that in
Hmm.
that sense. So,
Yeah.
yeah, who knows? Who knows? I
You
mean,
know.
we're not really getting anybody new in the sport right now. So,
Yeah.
we're just having the same old characters. I just hope that they show more of the people we want to see and more
Yeah.
of people that we didn't see much of. Like, have Logan talk more, have
Talk about his love of iced
um
tea.
yeah, I'm Have Oscar Piastri show up more.
Yeah.
Have I don't know. George talks plenty.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like, well, I guess we'll see sort of what shakes out. I mean, are
Yeah.
there any moments from this last year that you're really excited to see in Drive to Survive? Like,
Um, Not particularly. I mean, the whole season. Oh. Maybe if they focus on when Lance pushed his homeboy in the
oh, and like
and
Azerbaijan,
yeah, in the garage.
mm.
Yeah, that might be interesting. 'Cause what they'll
Yeah,
do,
called
they'll
him a
like
princess.
they'll
Yeah.
yeah they'll no they'll
Oh
yeah
no,
he
you're
pushed
talking about
him.
Lance.
Yeah, Lance
Oh,
Stroll.
okay,
Yeah, when he pushes his guy in the garage, and
right.
then I could just hear like I can imagine what it would look like on Netflix if you have the subtitles. It'll be like open bracket, dramatic singer, close back bracket, just like,
Right.
and
And
then
just
and then
like
it'll cut to Will Buxton being like, "They say diamonds are made under pressure, but maybe this one just couldn't cut it." Something like that. You know what I mean?
maybe he's still a lump of coal.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe
all
that's what
daddy's
Dad got her for Christmas.
all daddy's money in the world still couldn't turn that piece of coal into a diamond. Something
It's
like
just
that.
unacceptable
To
to
finish
push
first.
to push your personal trainer. Yeah, no, I'm definitely curious to see that. I
Yeah.
definitely am curious to see the Singapore episode with the Carlos win.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
that'll
be
be
fun to
fun.
watch.
Hmm.
Um,
The episode where
and
Lewis maybe almost won the U.S. Was it Austin? I think it was Austin, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Also, wait a minute.
This was
Was
the
the
this was the race where Lewis, Max, Charles, and Lando all got scrutineered for their plank
Oh,
thickness,
that's
right?
right.
Yeah, that'll be a
That's
good one.
right. Was this year also the same year where they did the LL Cool J intro walkthrough, or was
No,
that
no, no, no.
2022?
That was 2022. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say because like that, I still haven't seen. We still have. I don't. Did we? Did they cover that? I don't think. I think they barely
No,
covered
I
that.
I don't even think they touched it. I mean,
Oh,
because Drive to
because
Survive is more of a propaganda mouthpiece, but
well, this year Drive to Survive is gonna be. They're gonna hype up Vegas like crazy,
oh
just
yeah,
like they did with
absolutely,
Miami. They're just like, oh, it's like
exactly,
another world, and like, oh, it's
exactly.
just the
Yeah,
most exciting race of the season. I'm like,
yeah.
oh god.
As long as they
Um,
get more scenes of, okay, more scenes of people just like rubbing things into Christian Horner's face. Do you remember from that episode specifically, the Miami episode from Drive to Survive, where they focused on the 2022 season, where Caitlyn Jenner was talking
oh
with Christian
yeah,
Horner, and Caitlyn Jenner
yeah,
was like, "Well, Formula One just isn't Formula One without Ferrari," and this is right to
right.
Christian's face, and he's just like,
It's like,
"Bruh."
yeah, it's true. Yeah. Oh god. Um. Well, I'm waiting for him to I'm waiting for the him to basically just continue to be like kind of a hypocrite and just like all of the complaining that he was doing during
Yeah.
like the
Oh, the
Mercedes
Mercedes era.
dominance,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
just gonna
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
completely you could probably
180.
do a super cut of like you know like as if there's two different Christian Horners complaining about each
Yeah,
other, like
yeah, yeah.
I could imagine that happening
Mm-hmm.
because he's gonna flip the script. It's just what he does. He's
100%.
a drama queen.
100%.
um yeah, I don't know. When is that? I don't even know when that's coming out. As I know they
I would
announced it hitting
assume.
soon, right?
I would assume it's gonna
Um,
be like 2 weeks before the season starts, so probably like March 14th or something like that. Or no, no, no. I'm sorry.
season.
I'm gonna say March 8th. Am I right?
See, season 6 release date. Um. Late February.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
what it says. So pretty much like right as the season starts.
Yeah,
Thanks,
cool.
guys. You
Yeah,
can
they always do that.
give
And
us some content like in between,
dude,
to
I'm
munch on.
like, I'm not a big binger. Like, it can be stressful to try to get through 10 episodes of that and before the season starts.
Yeah.
Um, One last thing I want to say about the whole Haas scenario.
Hmm.
This pops in my mind. I saw an excellent meme where they showed. Do you remember in Drive to Survive, last season, where Mattia and Gunter were driving in that little car in the Italian countryside, right?
Yes. Yes.
So they take the still of them just driving that little tiny like Yugo looking car, right? And then they cut to the scene of Thelma and Louise when the car's going off the cliff.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's so true. It's so true. You think like I mean, how many like team principals have we eaten through since the beginning of Drive to Survive?
Oh, dude.
I mean, now there's Gunther, there's Mattia,
Yeah. Cyril,
um,
Cyril Biddable
Cyril.
from he's gone.
Who was the
Andreas
guy that was
Seidel's gone.
in? Yeah, was it, the Williams team principal, right? That was
Um,
like,
yeah, Jos Capito, he's gone.
yeah, he's gone. Didn't wasn't Aruva Bene, wasn't he in season one? Who was the
Dude,
Ferrari sponsor, or who was the Ferrari team principal in season one? I don't think it was
what?
Matteo.
It was probably Arriva Bene. Yeah, yeah, but he wasn't really well liked. I think he was.
No.
It was clear that he was gonna get the boot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's at least like 5 or 6 that we've
Hmm.
gone through.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people.
Everybody has a
Um,
target on their back. You know.
Everybody has a target on their back. Um, God, that's like a God. It's like he's like an assassin.
Dude. Yeah.
Um, I kind of want that. I kind of want that as a shirt or a sticker or something like Toto in a turtleneck saying everybody has a target on their back. It's amazing. Um, yeah. So, well, I guess we'll see. The new team principal for Haas has been there. He was the chief engineer, I believe. So, not an unknown quantity to the team.
Mm,
So,
right.
I guess we'll see how it goes. But like you said, the car's already well into development. So I think at this point the team is mostly on autopilot. It just kind of needs a new guide. So
Hmm.
I guess we'll see how that goes. Um, One thing I did want to say though, while we're talking to Drive to Survive, is did you see that Formula E has just put out a new their own version of Drive to Survive?
Oh yeah. What is it called? I
It's
think
called the Formula
Unplugged.
E Unplugged.
Yeah.
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 Um, which the only reason why I know that exists is because I was looking up Formula E Grand Prix where to watch, and it said it was on Roku and Paramount Plus. And when I looked it up on Paramount Plus, that was the only thing that came up.
Guys, we tried.
Um,
We really
we
tried to
tried.
watch this race this weekend, and like because the thing is, it's not easy to watch a race live all the time, right?
No.
We'll have what they call real lives, right? Things that exist outside of motorsports, and it's a little difficult to watch it live. So
Mhm.
I don't understand why first off you can't just watch the race like live if you're trying to easily stream it, right? And then secondly, why they just don't have the replay posted almost immediately, if not like a couple hours afterwards. Like that
Right.
this is me talking to Formula E sponsors, and I know they just signed a big deal with Roku, so they have like exclusive streaming or whatever. Get this figured out like right now, because
Mhm.
you are in the 10th season of a really awesome race series, right? You are in an era where people are starting to pay attention to motorsports, like really in a significant way. Like the number of posts and social media buzz that I've been seeing about everyone watching the Formula E Mexico E Prix was huge this last weekend, right?
Mhm.
And you can't mess up. You have to make it as easy as possible for people to watch this, right? Because this is
Mhm.
kind of like an unknown quantity, and like it's relatively unknown to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Make it as easy as possible for people to watch. Figure it out. Like make an official Formula E app where everyone can just do it on that.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be this
Yeah.
difficult, like forget Roku.
Yeah, I mean, well, and it's funny. It reminds me of when I was watching. So, like, obviously, like, if we're from the Midwest, right?
Mhm.
So we're used to like people
Damn straight.
watching football on the weekend, right? Or like baseball or whatever sports event it was, right?
Sure.
And obviously, because happens domestically, most of the
Mhm.
time people can go and watch that live within a certain with a certain period of time, and during the day, and
Mhm.
also because it tends to be really popular amongst a lot of people locally, that like if you don't watch it live, you're going to get spoiled for what happened from your
Right.
coworkers or your friends, so there's an incentive to watch it live.
100%.
But when I was watching Formula One at the beginning, I just DVR'd it. Like we had
Mhm.
DirecTV, and I would set it to record.
Ooh, look at
like
this guy with money.
right. It was my parents, right? They're the ones that had the money. But anyway, um, I'd set the DVR to record every race,
Yeah.
right? And it would go into a folder and it would be in that race, right? And then I would go back and I would watch it. And, luckily for me, nobody was around to spoil me. The only thing that was around to spoil me was, well, I couldn't follow the social media. I couldn't follow any of the pages. Not that there was much happening, but navigating to the race. Sometimes it would be like a news clip. That'd be like Max Verstappen wins, or like whatever, whoever it was,
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton wins. That I'm like, damn it,
Hmm.
I would get so mad that I couldn't actually just watch it immediately.
Yeah.
I did notice that Formula E has like an app, and they have like their, whatever, but it's like, it's not like the F1 television app.
Hmm.
F1 TV app does a good job of avoiding spoilers.
Yeah.
So like you get to watch,
Yeah.
the race before it happens and not get spoiled.
Yeah.
Formula E apparently hasn't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
But also too, like, we don't need to watch this live. I'm not used to watching it
Right.
live. I don't. I
right.
just put it on when I can,
Right. You
and
have
because
a
it's
real life.
right, and because it's international
Yeah.
as well, like, we can't get up at 3 in the morning to watch the race. We're not going to do
Yeah.
that. Some people do that with F1. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I just can't. I mean, maybe it's they need to avoid the spoilers or whatnot, but like, I swear, every race that comes up in the season, I just let it happen. I wait for the replay to show up on the F1 app, and usually it's like immediate, and then I just watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
When I just get done with. It's so much easier. So yeah, FE needs to figure that out, because, like you said, it is a, people, the interest in motorsport. It's sort of, it's still warm. It's
Mhm.
still kind of on fire. I worry that it's cooling off a little bit, and I think the
Mhm.
only reason why it's cooling off a bit is because of, well, a couple of things. I think the max dominance is slowing down.
Dude.
I think the inaccessibility of these things is slowing it down.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like, you guys got to strike that iron while it's hot, and
Yes.
you're not striking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, yeah, yeah, I think what you meant was the absolute Max Verstappen curb stomping dominance of last season is slowing down the popularity, right? Because people are like, "Oh, is this what it is? Like, it's boring, et cetera, et cetera." Which is fine. People can think that. That's, perfectly
if that's
fine.
what they want to think, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's yeah.
But it makes me
Nailed it on the
worry
head.
that,
Gotta,
like, I was gonna say, it makes me worry that the teams and the governing body are gonna start making decisions off of entertainment rather than like the nature of the sport. You know what I mean? Like, it's like what you said with like Gunther, like, oh, they're
Yeah.
gonna like force a team to hire
Yeah.
a principal that's like a weirdo
yeah.
or something. Like,
Yeah.
for the sake of Drive to Survive. It's just like, the revenue shouldn't be coming from the reality show. It should be coming
Yeah.
from the sport as an entertainment.
Sure. And granted, that was more tongue in cheek. It was more just like, of the available people who
Sure.
would kind of fill that like comedic relief role, But for sure,
Right.
yeah, you did bring something up that's interesting. I do think we've already seen the impact of the value, the entertainment value kind of superseding that of like how the actual sport operates. And the key point there is like Abu Dhabi 2021, right? Like, I think things have kind of cooled off a little bit now, but like the fact that the rules weren't applied how they had typically been applied, we've already seen that impact. And I think the introduction of more stewards and the new stewarding rules were, and it was an attempt to kind of correct that, right? So I think the governing bodies are aware of that, right? They want to make sure things are balanced, but at the end of the day, it is still entertainment too, But where's that line in the sand,
Right.
Big thing.
No, that's for sure. Well, I mean, I guess that all being considered, Formula E still had its race weekend in Mexico. And one thing that was really interesting to me, generally, just as I was looking at it, the Mexican track that they used.
Oh,
so
yeah.
obviously, it's same place where they do the Grand Prix track, right? But it's a lot shorter. So, the event, it's Hankook, sponsored by Hankook, so it's Hankook Mexican E-Prix.
Yeah, Hankook, the tire.
Hankook, that's right. Yeah, tire manufacturer. I believe they support all, they supply all the tires for all the teams. I think they're like the Pirelli of Formula E at this point. The same track as the F1 races at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. But the Formula E track is only 2.6 kilometers long, which that is in miles. I don't know. Let me ask Logan Sargent. Um, so let's see, 2.6 kilometers is 1.6 miles, and the Grand Prix track is 4.3. So it's a pretty significant reduction in distance and size.
Hmm.
Um,
Like
which
big time.
yeah, big time. Which is it's interesting. I mean, I'm hoping that like FE has put a lot of they put a lot of attention into the battery performance
Yes.
and the battery length to an extent as well. But also a lot of focus on the rechargeability or the charging up speed.
Hmm.
Um, which is good. But yeah, I really hope that Formula E gets to the point to where they're maybe not doing a full Grand Prix distance, but at least like half of it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I just want to see them at longer tracks. Like I want them to be on like an actual like full on racetrack.
Hmm.
You know, not like a sort of a section off. I mean, you got close with Portland because Portland is a designated racetrack, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I would love to see them racing. Well, Monaco is a street circuit, but I still want to see that. Um, I'm trying to think what would be a good track for. What do you think would be an exciting track, like purpose built track to see
Oh,
FE
Spa. Are you
race?
kidding me? Oh my God, dude.
Oh well, yeah. If you could do it, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
lot. That's a big ass
Hmm.
distance for
Yeah.
FE.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, the problem is, I think I feel you. One of the one of the theses or the thrusts of Formula E is to keep these cars in the cities, right? To show people this is what an electric vehicle would look like in your backyard, in your
right.
city, in your town, right? And so I admire that because there's like you're trying to pull like a checkmate on people, right? To get them used to seeing this and hearing these kinds of noises around themselves within the city
Yeah.
limits and whatnot. But um yeah, the purpose built, dude, I think Spa just by far would be the coolest, dude. Could you imagine seeing some FE cars just rolling through Eau Rouge?
I think Spa is like if they can get to Spa and do like half a Grand Prix distance, I feel
Yeah.
like they've made it as a motorsport in
Mm.
a significant way because that's a big technical achievement for an electric car series. Um, but like I would say on a shorter scale or like kind
Hmm.
of on a a more realistic sort of like view, I feel if they could do a full Suzuka, that would be awesome.
Mm. Okay.
Um, I feel like a lot of those swooping chicanes and things would cater to those cars pretty well. Also, even if it's rainy, like, the way that their nature of their tires are, is like all terrain.
Hmm.
Um, there's definitely some older circuits that would be interesting to see. Stuff that's not as long, like Watkins Glen or not Watkins Glen. What was that? There's one in maybe it is Watkins Glen, and you're in England. It's like another British Grand Prix race. Um, there's a few surveyed like Silverstone could be interesting.
Silverstone would be
There's
good, I think.
some really big ones. I understand why they do street circuits a lot. Just because the distances don't have to be as big, but it would be really cool to see these things really get a chance to stretch their legs. So yeah, I think like Spa would be incredible if they were able to get to the point to where the batteries were able to
Hmm.
like not be able to like function well enough in that environment to just hold that
So
charge and
I don't think the issue wouldn't be necessarily that it couldn't do the full like distance over one lap. Like, is that what you're talking about, or are
no,
you
I mean like
speaking
a
more
full
to like,
race distance,
oh, for
like
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
okay, gotcha, full race distance.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get there. It's just a matter of right now you could double the weight of the batteries, right, and just add more capacity that way. But um, is that worth it, right? That slows you down, right? There's a max
right.
speed you don't be able to reach. So, I mean, we're getting there, right? Remember, Gen 1 of these Formula E cars. By the way, we plan on talking about Formula E in more depth to kind of give more context around this. But um, Generation 1 of the Formula E cars, like the drivers would literally just hop out and get into another car, right, in order
Hmm.
to complete the race. and then slowly battery distance was getting better, or I'm sorry, battery battery capacity was getting better, and like the discharge and dissipation rates from that battery to actually go ahead and race at a high level, high performance level,
Hmm.
to the point now where we can do an entire race, Formula E race, on one battery with a single charge, right? So
Right.
um I that's just 10 years, right? That's just 10
Right.
years of battery technology development. So
Hmm.
give it another 10 years, maybe we'll be there.
Yeah, well, I know that they're doing the quick charge, which quick charge it was like I think it was like 80% of the battery capacity in like like a minute or something like that. It was like
That's
a
insane.
you know, like that opens the window to,
Hmm.
having a pit stop,
Hmm.
and effectively adding, at least three-quarters of the distance onto it.
Hmm.
So we are on the cusp of seeing like a longer distance run for the cars, but
Hmm.
yeah, I don't. You get. It was really exciting in Portland to see them kind of stretch their legs a little bit.
Yeah.
I just think like sometimes with these Grand Prix, these Formula E circuits, there's a lot of like right turns, and it's just like a lot of like it can
I
really
mean, it's
sort
a
of
city, right?
slow
It's
it
just a
down.
grid. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Long Beach would be kind of cool for an FE to show up
Oh
too.
man, Long
That would
Beach
be
is
a
a
good
great track.
track.
Yeah. Long Beach is
That would be
fun.
real nice. Well, um, anyway, yeah. Speaking of being able to see stuff, I am very excited to be able to watch some of the Formula Academy races.
Yes.
And I'm also very, very glad. I'm really excited to see that they will be getting a chance to get an audience because
Yeah.
we saw that glimpse in the finale where they'd had like, uh, autograph sessions
Yeah.
and a lot more media attention, and like that's all fabulous. That's wonderful, and I'm really here for it. I'm excited to see that come to fruition. And I'm really, really also excited to be able to watch that on the F1 app ostensibly too, right? Because
Yes.
they usually put the support races on there as well as the regular. But in any case, like I'm definitely going to be trying to consume that
Oh, absolutely.
every race that they do.
Yeah.
And now that I have a little bit more of a passing familiarity with some of the the drivers involved, it'll be a bit easier as well. Um, yeah. Well, Idris,
I think.
now that it's 2024
Hmm.
and we are, things are starting to come into motion. Formula E starting to, slowly start. IndyCar's going to be starting up relatively soon. And then, obviously F1's going to be coming in soon. Um, is there anything like that you miss from like that we haven't been doing the past like month, like, or that we haven't been able to consume because of the being in the off season? Like, what do you miss most about
Hmm.
like the general F1 season? Like, what's your favorite part that you're looking forward to getting back into as far as your routine?
Um, I think just like the internet deep dives after a race and just kind of
Hmm.
exploring, like, especially when with anomalies, right? Like, oh, what went wrong during the race, like technically
Hmm.
with this car, right? And then
Yeah.
just hopping over to different subreddits, just looking, pouring through Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and just seeing what people think, but also getting some hot takes too, like the really bad hot takes, like those.
Hmm.
And those are really fun.
Right.
How about you?
Yeah. Um, for me, honestly, it's kind of I think my favorite thing is uh I like sort of formulating what we're gonna do for an episode. I love the excitement after a really exciting Grand Prix, thinking,
Oh
oh
yeah.
man, I can't wait to talk to Idris about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Um, I'm also really looking forward to being able to create graphics for each of our posts this year, because like
Hmm.
now that I move into this space, it's a lot easier for me to watch and then immediately be able to work on it.
Yeah.
Whereas before, there was a period of time where I had to like drive across the city and then do the thing, but then leave immediately after. And like it was just like a whole thing. But now, like I'm
Yeah.
more centralized, I can just fix in on it and create some really fun stuff. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to most. Is I'm looking forward to the memes. I'm looking forward to the inside jokes. Those are the things I think I miss the most. Every time there's a a race,
Hmm.
whether it be like a Mamma Mia Scuderia showing up, or some weird thing that like Christian says that really irritates me, like all my sizzling hot takes, all of that stuff,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah,
excited for. And I'm really excited to bring that into the world of the other stuff that we're watching too, like
yeah,
FE, Formula
yeah,
Academy,
yeah,
and IndyCar. Like I'm excited to get that ball rolling as well.
yeah.
I still
Absolutely.
got to get my Peacock membership so I can watch
Dude,
IndyCar. So that's next.
speaking of which, I'm so tired of all these streaming services. I don't want
I
to
know,
subscribe. I just
I know.
no, I'm done. I've been done for years, but I'm like especially done now.
It's exhausting. There's too
It
many,
is.
and like,
It is.
and it's like, and none of them work well together. The apps won't function properly. Um, and yeah, it's funny. It's like we're kind of circling back though, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like
it's just cable
you
again.
had, yeah, because like you had cable, right? Where you paid for your package and it had so many channels, right? And then Netflix was like, oh well, we have our own like thing of things or whatever, and it was just like movies, and then it's like
Yeah.
okay, and then Netflix was its own thing. Everybody else was there, and then now all of a sudden everybody had to have their own app, like Peacock, like we their Peacock app and the Paramount app and the blah blah blah, and now they're bundling together, and it's like you get
Right.
Peacock and Showtime and blah blah blah.
Right.
You buy this package and you get this and this and this and this for free. It's just circling back
Yeah.
to the
Ex-
list of channels that you buy off of from your cable provider. Like it's just circling back to that.
yeah. Explain that to your
Um,
parents in the 90s, right? Like you go back in the past and you're like, "Mom, Dad, okay, this is what's going on." They're like, "Wait, just cable?
yeah,
Also, how am I talking to you?"
right. It's too much. And like, the other thing I was thinking about too, it's like people still forget that like you don't own any of the content when you
Yeah,
subscribe to
nothing.
like a
Yeah.
streamer service. So like
Yeah.
you just have access to it so long as you're paying for it. And if they decide to take it off their
It's
streaming
gone.
service, it's gone. You
Yeah.
can't even if you were to like save it as a favorite, they just take it off.
Yeah.
So that's why like I was really happy. Like I still have all my DVDs, and
Mhm.
like people are like, why do you still have DVDs? Because if I want to watch Robin Hood Men in Tights like right now, I can just turn it on and
Mhm.
watch it. Or if I want to watch whatever movie, like I don't have to be like, oh, what streaming service is it on? I could just pull it up, open it up, put it in. And I'm also a millennial, so I don't care about FPS and like the crazy high fidelity. Like it almost looks more comfortable to my eyes, that DVD
Mm.
quality, you know what I mean?
Mm. I feel you.
It's like the color green, my eyes just can rest on it really
Yeah.
comfortably, and it's not like weird like frame filled in whatever nonsense that goes
Sure.
on. So um but yeah, no, I do wish that IndyCar and Formula E had their own F1 app style thing where
F1
you can
TV
just
app, yeah.
subscribe. I think the FIA should in general. Like F1 should also include Formula E and like all of the other FIA sanctioned,
Yeah.
race series should
Oh,
all be under one blanket.
speaking of which, I was watching earlier today the Dakar 2024 series, the Saudi
Ooh.
Arabia race. Just
Uh-huh.
oh man, it's so fun, man. Like
Yeah.
I
Okay.
feel like I would want to just race one of those cars. Carlos Sainz is actually racing for Spain
Oh,
with his
really?
partner. Yeah, they're racing. So they showed dirt bikes, they had ATVs, they had trucks, and they had like dune buggies. And like the dune buggies are so fun, man. Like, oh, I'm
Okay.
I'm converted. It like
Where
NBC
did
has
you
all the
watch
highlights on
this?
YouTube, dude. On YouTube,
Oh, okay.
just like just there. And I'm like, this is great. I'm really
Okay.
enjoying this. I would actually fly out and travel to one of these places, and it's just such a cool experience. And also this reminds me because we've wanted to talk about Extreme E for a little bit too. So
Hmm.
I think we'll talk a little bit about that as well in this upcoming season, along with some other special guests and stuff that we have. So you guys are in for a good 2024. Something real quick I wanted to mention too, related to 2024. It's kind of a pivot switch.
Hmm.
Um, we have some car reveal launch dates that have been dropped. Like Williams,
Right.
yeah, I
Okay.
wanted to
Yeah.
kind of drop those dates too for people to kind of mark down on the calendar. But you have
Mm.
Williams dropping on February 5th. Stake F1
Okay.
Team is also dropping on the 5th. I think they changed their name to Stake F1 Team versus Kick
Yeah.
Sauber.
I,
I think
yeah.
they nixed that, right?
They did. Yeah. No. So it's Stake F1. Although I did read somewhere that they're planning on changing the name depending on the venue that they're at.
Oh my god.
So, yeah. Uh, You know, can
That's
we? I don't.
stupid.
Part of me just wishes we could just go back to like, can't you just like race in your country's like colors? Well, I guess no, we would just have a few. Half the field would just be British racing green. Um,
You know what that feels like to me? That feels like it's my team. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. No, it's my
yeah,
team. Like,
you
why?
can you can feel the like corporate deliberation on like what percentage of the exposure is has your name on it, and like, rather than just being like, here's the teams, here's the sponsors, boom, there you go. Yeah, no, I don't know what they're gonna change it to, but I think like they're just kind of a little butthurt that everybody was so, upset by the, what was it? It was kick. It was Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber, I think,
Yeah,
right?
something crazy like that. Yeah.
Like they're just like, I'm sure somebody thought that was such a brilliant name,
Yeah.
and then they're just really upset, and now they're just like, well, okay, we'll just be like Kick F1 in some of these races, and Stake F1 in another one. And it's just like, God, just pick one sponsor, okay?
Yeah.
Like stop.
Yeah.
It was like with the football stadiums changing to like, Quicken Loans Arena, or like,
You mean the Q?
Staples Center, and it's like, oh God, just like, name it something cool. I don't know,
Yeah.
the Octagon, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's just that, yeah, we live in a world where there's just so much corporate sponsorship, and like
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
kind of
everywhere, and it's all encompassing.
yeah, and
Um,
everything
at,
we do.
at least the F1 drivers don't have to name drop their sponsors every time they give an interview like they do in like IndyCar and NASCAR, you know? Like,
Yeah.
could you imagine Max doing this? Like, yeah, yeah, I was driving around the track, really quick. Red Bull, it gave me wings. And I also want to, thank, our other sponsors.
Oracle.
What are you, Oracle? If you need to figure it out, ask the Oracle.
I love the Oracle in the Matrix.
Like, yeah, but
Bybit, all these other sponsors. Yeah.
yeah, like, if you need crypto, here's where you go. Like, I'm glad we don't have that, because that
Yeah.
just feels, that's one thing that like NASCAR does that always,
Yeah.
always bothers me. Because, when I
Yeah.
gear up for a race, and I gotta have my McDouble from Wendy, so I really appreciate, that, and also, our car was running pretty good. It's running that Pennzoil. I use Pennzoil for everything. Pennzoil, running good. It's just like, mm. Could you imagine just like if there was like a bunch of Patreon followers for
Oh
F1
man.
teams, and they just have to list all of their like
Hmm.
names like during the
Like they do
interview?
at the end of every video, just like
Yes. I want to thank Good Nuts 305, Golden Eagles 79, Mac Daddy 305,
we can
Crazy Chicso, like just like go through a list of
yeah.
patrons. Like, I feel like that's the future we're heading towards, and
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
happy about that. So, um,
Um
yeah.
so the other teams that are ready to drop their cars.
Mhm.
Or we have their dates at least. You have Aston Martin on February 12th and Ferrari February 13th. I want to say Mercedes and McLaren are also on the 12th,
Mhm.
but I could be wrong. I thought I saw that somewhere, but the other teams have not confirmed.
Is anybody releasing theirs on test day? Do we know?
Oh, that is a good question. I mean, what test date is what, the 21st? Yeah, 21st through the
Mhm.
24th in Bahrain.
Because some teams used
No
to do
one's
that. They
confirmed
would,
that.
okay, yeah. Because some teams used to do that. They would reveal their car like
Yeah,
on the test day. I hope they all do it ahead of time, even if they do
yeah.
digital, because we need to have
Oh, yeah.
our second annual livery review.
Yes.
Um,
The problem
with
though
a
is that go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, fit with runway music and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's kind of hard to do that if they drop it on a test session day, because then test
Yeah.
session kind of takes precedence. So, um,
Well, I was just
yeah,
gonna
we'll
say
have to
the other
see.
thing is that like F1 is a social media like enterprise now, right? So
Hmm.
all these corporate sponsors are not going to let this, opportunity go by and not get to showcase their car and get buzz about their team and investors and all that kind of stuff. So I think gone are the days where people just show up and show up to preseason testing and reveal their car at their livery
Hmm.
then. I
Right.
think this is just kind of like this is just what it is now.
We have to remember too. Like, I think as of last year, um, the cars that we thought were fast because they looked fast were not. Except for the Aston Martin. I remember thinking the Aston Martin looked
Yes.
quick, and it
Yes.
technically was,
Yeah.
but I remember us saying like, "Oh man, that Alfa Romeo looks so good, so
Mm-hmm.
fast."
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
So just because it looks good does not mean it's
Yeah.
quick. But hey, it had metallic paint on it too, so maybe that was slowing them down.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
got to gamify this.
Yeah.
Um,
Heavy metals,
okay,
bro.
here's a little preemptive thing to play with you.
Yeah.
Is Red Bull going to change their livery at
Oh
all?
my God, dude, I was thinking the exact same thing. No,
You
absolutely
don't
not.
think so? They're going
If
to stick with
anything,
the matte finish, like kind
if
of.
anything, maybe a streak of purple in there somewhere.
Mm,
Maybe. Yeah, to kind of harken back to the 2000, 2009, 2000 through 2013
yeah,
era, right? Maybe. Maybe.
man, I wish, God, I wish they would do something wild. I wish
Yeah,
they
they
would
need
just
to.
make it look like a Red Bull can with like the metallic, the
Yes.
chrome and the blue. But here's the thing: it's just like they once somebody found out that like the gloss paint weighed more or whatever, and so everyone's doing satin or naked carbon, and it's just
Mhm.
like this is where we need a regulation change. Like maybe maybe there needs to be something where it's like the teams can get away with painting more, or maybe like I don't know, like I don't like that the rules are affecting. It used to just be sponsors, like you don't want smoking sponsors, like you don't want tobacco related, so that was like affecting it. Or like you couldn't use certain colors because of like if they were too close to another car on track or something. But now it's just like, oh well, it's more aerodynamic if we use matte finish paint. It's just like, well, yeah, but it doesn't look as good. Like I want to see those glossy colors in like the Singapore lights, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it right here. Yeah, I'm gonna say it right here. Yeah, Red Bull ain't changing nothing.
Yeah,
They're
Red Bull's
gonna
not changing
switch
anything.
around whatever sponsor, but
I'm really excited about AlphaTauri now Racing Bulls. They have a huge opportunity here to completely just like they're coming in as a new brand, quote unquote, I guess. But yeah, just switch it up, do something new, do something really cool.
I don't think they're gonna do that.
Yeah, you think it's
I
just
think
gonna
it's just
work
gonna
out?
be minimalist white, just like AlphaTauri was.
Oh, that's a
It's just
bummer.
gonna be, you know. I just know, like I'm ready to be excited and shocked because I love it,
Yeah,
but
you want it? Yeah,
it's just gonna be the same boring thing. It's just
yeah.
they're not gonna do anything interesting. I mean, I
Real.
was really excited when Alfa Romeo did. I was like, "Oh, that looks good."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Metallic red and the yeah, um, yeah. I don't know.
I feel that. Hmm.
Yeah,
And
we'll see. I
Ferrari,
guess.
Ferrari will come in with a bright purple car,
Oh yeah, right. No, yeah. I
like
mean, like
always.
it's like the safest bet in the entire world that you could possibly make about anything. It's like two things. Like, will the sun rise in the east and set in the west? Yes.
Yes.
Will Ferrari race in red? Yes. Like, will time continue to march on? Yes. Um, is water wet? Yes. Oh, okay. You know what? Okay, this is a little off topic. Just before we
Mhm.
close, okay,
Yeah.
this is off topic. This is the kind of exclusive content you get on an F1, F1 or F off. Okay. I don't know why I was watching Married at First Sight with
Love that
Lauren.
show. I love that
Um,
show.
I love it and hate it at the same time. Um, but I did not expect as I was watching this to have a really intense, like not philosophical, but like just like a question you really have to sit and think about.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the guys was joking and he said, "How many holes does a straw have?"
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah.
It is a good
I
question.
think I think we've seen the season that you're talking about.
And the answer is one hole. Because if you think about it, if you take a straw and you
Hmm.
were to take all the plastic and you were to squeeze it
Yeah.
down, right, and
Right.
flatten it all out, it would just be a plastic circle that has a hole in it,
Exactly. There's one
right?
hole. Yeah.
But the argument was made that there's hole one and hole two, which doesn't make any sense to me. I think that you have to think of it in context of a straw. You have the upper
It's a
portion of a straw
continuity.
and the bottom portion of a straw. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a tunnel doesn't have hole one and hole two. It has this side of the tunnel, that side of the
Yeah.
tunnel. It might have entrance 1 and entrance 2, or exit and entrance, depending. But ultimately, it's got one hole. Until somebody brought up the point that what do you call a hole in the ground? Because the hole in the ground doesn't have an exit on the other side. So is it still one hole?
I mean,
Is it?
it's what we call in the engineering world a blind hole, right? Like it.
Oh, it's a blind hole.
Yeah, it dead ends at a certain side. Yeah, so it's still a hole.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that was a scientific thing. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, more of an engineering thing, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Engineering thing. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's a
so-
dead hole.
well, blind hole,
Oh, blind hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a hole like a straw would be a through hole, right? Because you go
Right.
through the entirety of the material, whereas a blind hole just dead ends.
Interesting.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's still technically
they're
one
both
hole.
holes. Yeah, it's still technically
Right.
one hole. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway,
These
before
are
we,
deep. These are
these are the
we
things.
talk about.
Yeah, we talk about holes and straws and married at first sight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that later. I'm not going to fill up.
maths. Yeah.
I'm not going to fill up the F1 or F off podcast with, we're not going to turn into F1 or Married at First Sight.
I mean, we could. I think there's an intersection of demographics that love both, and I am there for it.
If anyone
My wife
listening
is as
wants to hear our thoughts about Loved at First Sight, you can send us a message at F1 or F off podcast at gmail.com. Subject married at first podcast or something, and we'll discuss the inquiries and questions online, and we will say something.
Ooh, here's an idea. All right, so guys, we're gonna start a new podcast. It's gonna be called Married at Lights Out and Away We Go. So this is a podcast that focuses on drivers and their blind dates, where they just have to say yes or no to being married at first sight, and that's it. It's a new show coming soon on TLC.
There's a dating show that Lauren is obsessed with, and it's she more or less watches a guy react to this thing, but it's called
Sure.
The Button, right? Where it's like a speed dating thing. So it's like two people sit in front and they talk to each other, and
is this
like
on-
the button.
Cut. This is by Cut, right?
Something there's a ton of different variations. There's like Australian, there's like UK, whatever. But like the idea is like you're sitting at a table and there's a button and the button's talking to you and like asking questions, and then the light turns red, and then you have to hit it if you want to pass that person on that person, right? Like in the blind date. F1 drivers would be experts at that. Their reaction time would just be so lightning quick, no one would be able to react to it. So if you were like an F1 driver on a dating thing, speed dating thing, like it would just be like there's no way. Like, but hey, you know what? Maybe that's a fun idea. Get all of the automotive, like motorsport racing people who are single, and get them on that show and see who has the quickest reaction time. With the button.
Yeah,
That'd be sweet. Yeah. Ooh.
that'd be fun.
Yeah. I'm
That
gonna
would
think
be-
of a title for that. Would it be like zero to six?
Zero
Zero to
16.
love.
Zero. Ooh.
Like 0 to love in 60 seconds, or like love in 60 seconds, like instead of gone in 60 seconds, or overtake my heart, qualifying for love, grand pretty faces. I don't know. I'm trying to start. I'll come up with better ones later.
Yeah.
Ben would be really good at this. I need to
absolutely.
ask him. I'll ask him like, what would give me some motorsport themed dating shows titles. He'll come up with like a billion of them, and I'll just like post them on our page or whatever. Anyway, yep. Hey, crossover universe is happening here. So like, there's this is what you guys need to know. F1 or F off. It is a modular podcast. We can talk about what we want, because why? Because it's our show.
Yep.
Not yours.
But please listen to us.
But please listen to us. Yeah. Well, anyway, everybody, thank you for listening to F1 or F off. This is our 50th episode, and we are really happy that we made it this far. Here's to the next 50. Please, if thank you for listening. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcasts, and I mean everywhere. Spotify, Apple iPod, or Apple Podcasts,
Yeah,
YouTube, and a whole bunch of other ones too that
Yeah.
like I've never even heard of. But
Yeah.
like, hey, we're on there, so
Yeah.
there you
We
go.
have an RSS feed, just
Yeah,
sub.
we got everything. If you want to hit us up or AKA send us a message, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on X still. Um,
Still?
now that Blue Sky's opening up a little bit, I think
Yeah.
we might want to make it Blue Sky because it
Yeah. Oh,
was like
absolutely.
closed off for a while, but now I
Hmm.
think everybody's starting to kind of switch over. So
Yeah.
that could be cool. You can also send us a direct email at F1 or F off podcast, all one word,
Hmm.
at gmail.com. Please give us a 5-star review or a 4.5-star review. That's acceptable, as we've said many times. Wherever you listen to your podcast, leave a comment, leave a message, leave us a review. Let us know what you think. Let us know how you feel.
Yeah.
Um,
And most importantly, let us know what your favorite season of Married at First Sight is, because we will talk. Like, my wife and I love that show.
so I've only been able to start seeing what's on Netflix right now. So
Yeah.
we got through season 12. So that was like
Hmm.
Chris and Paige were on that, and I was just screaming at the screen
Mm.
constantly. Um, I absolutely hate that man,
Mm.
and I'm very glad that people quit his business apparently because he was a terrible owner. Hashtag blessed is apparently what his name was, and I was just every time I saw it, it just made me cringe.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess if you want a crash course in what gaslighting looks like, just watch that season, season 12. But yeah, no, be just like Married at First Sight. Be sure to show this podcast to a stranger. Especially if you're at the altar and you're getting married right in first sight and you don't know this person, be like, hey, you should listen to this podcast, and then just let it go viral. So
Yeah.
thanks. We appreciate that. Next time, if they do that season in Cleveland, I'm gonna be really stoked. Um, but yeah, that's the show.
I think that's it. Yeah.
That's the show, folks.
Thank you.
Looney Tunes theme, you know?
Yeah. That'd be a fun.
That's all, folks.
All right. Later, y'all.
Peace.